this is much more difficult with only one person here. So welcome. I am going to be making some Sicilian tomato sauce today, and I'm so glad you joined me. Y'all probably know that this week was the week I was taking my fun group to Sicily, and sadly, it hasn't worked out that way. So I decided that I was going to celebrate Sicily anyway, and I invite you to join with me this week. I'm going to be doing Facebook Live videos. I'm going to have all these wonderful recipes on my website on the Taste and Savor blog. But right now, you can probably hear my onions crackling and popping a little bit. So I want to go ahead and get started with my tomato sauce, and then I'll tell you a little bit more. So in my pan, I have got 2 cups of, chopped red onions that are just starting to get a little translucent. I put in a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Oh my gosh, I wish y'all could smell it. It smells so good. And next up, I'm gonna make this perfectly easy tomato sauce, Sicilian style. And to do that, I'm gonna add a couple more ingredients than I usually do with the tomato sauce. And those 2 ingredients are anchovies. Yes, people, anchovies. You know, Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean, and because it is, there is such beautiful seafood. I can't tell you how gorgeous it is. So I'm going to use about 4 fillets of anchovies, and I'm going to chop it really coarsely and pop them in. Now, if you're thinking, I do not like those salty little things on the pizza, well, you're not going to be able to tell they're salty little things by the time it cooks down with the onions. So I'm just going to chop them coarsely and get them right into my pan. Because what's going to happen with those anchovies as we cook, let me get a paper towel, as we cook them down with the onions, is they're going to break apart, and all they're really going to add is a little bit of brininess. And you know, I'm all about eating better, and these Sicilian recipes are my interpretation of what I've had in Sicily. So I want to make it a little healthier and a little better for us. So I'm adding the anchovies not only for the yummy briny taste, but also because I can add less salt in my tomato sauce when I do that. So there goes one of the 2 ingredients I'm using to make it Sicilian style. The other ingredient I'm going to use is right here. Okay, so these are just red pepper flakes. Make sure when you have red pepper flakes that they are really red colored, because if they're not, they're too old. And I would suggest that you open up your can or tin or whatever you have the red pepper flakes in jar and smell them, but you really don't want to smell the red pepper flakes. I had to run in and redo my mascara because I smelled them earlier. So we're going to put about a tablespoon of red pepper flakes in here. I was generous. This is what we're having for dinner tonight, this beautiful pasta sauce. So Mike and I like things a little zippity-doo-dah. So I can add a little bit more red pepper flake. Okay, so now what needs to go in there is a little bit of Italian seasoning. Y'all, if you do not have Italian seasoning in your cupboard, you are missing out. Because Italian seasoning is full of basil and thyme and oregano, sometimes a little parsley. And Italian seasoning makes everything taste like the Mediterranean. You know, we think of only Italy or Sicily as the Mediterranean, but there are like 19 countries that are around the Mediterranean. And we love, in the United States, Italian food and the flavors of the Mediterranean. You know that we sell more Italian food in the United States than any other ethnic food, even more than Chinese, believe it or not, or Mexican. Okay, oh my gosh, I got the red onions in here. And by the way, I used a little bit of olive oil. And today, because I'm celebrating Sicily, I'm using Sicilian olive oil. Oh, I'm so sad I can't be there with these folks right here. This is the Murgo Winery, and they not only make beautiful wine, they also have bees, and they also have olives. And this is their olive oil. And it's amazing how many, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, how many of the wineries actually do have olive oil, because olives are so beautiful and everywhere around the island of Sicily. So I've got another one here too. But you can find Sicilian olive oil right in the regular, well, maybe a little bit more bougie grocery store like World Market. You can find Sicilian olive oil, or you can go to the International Farmers Market. You know I love Buford Highway. All right, so that's cooking down a little bit. I am going to put some salt and pepper in here. I'm going to put very little salt, but a good grind of pepper. So here goes my pepper. I broke my big pepper grinder, and I haven't gotten over to Cook's Warehouse to replace it yet. I know they're still open, though, so if you guys need something, I had a backup one, but if you need something, they are still open. And then I'm going to use my salt lady to put a little bit of sea salt in there as well. So now my onions are almost completely caramelized. And oh my gosh, the anchovies have broken down as well. And you know, I only used 4 of my anchovies out of my whole tin of anchovies. Of course, I drained it well first, because that oil is not probably what we want to use. So I drained them, and now look, I still have like, I don't know, 8 or 10 anchovies left in there. You know what you want to do? You want to freeze those anchovies. That's what these little bags like this are for. Little snack bags. You can put in little packages of like 4 or 6 anchovies, put them in the freezer, label them, date them, and you won't have to waste these anchovies unless you want to put on a pizza or on top of a salad. Okay, so don't forget, freeze your leftover anchovies. They freeze great, and then you can use 1 tin of anchovies for like 3 or 4 recipes. So next up, now that my onions have broken down, I'm going to do my garlic. I'm going to grate my garlic. I grate garlic because one of my pet peeves is getting something that is yummy and luscious, and guess what? Somebody is not a good grater or a good chopper, and you get a hunk of garlic. And I love garlic, but I want it to kind of dissolve into whatever I am cooking. So I'm going to use my microplane Queasy Pro. There's lots of names for these graters. And I'm going to use it right in my pan. But here's the secret. Okay, I'm going to rest the end of the microplane on the pan itself, because then I'm not trying to just do it up in the air, trying to just grate up in the air. What I'm trying to do what I've got to do is ground it so I can get it right in there, and also so I have some leverage. Okay, now look at this. Look at that beautiful garlic. Okay, so the beautiful garlic needs to go in there. The easiest way to make it go in the pan, whack it on the side of the pan. And that was a very small garlic clove, so I'm going to do another one because like I said, we love garlic here. So there goes the second one, right in the pan. You know, you never want to put your garlic in the pan until your onions are almost all done. And the reason is, garlic now, yummo. The reason that you don't want to put the garlic in the pan too soon is, think of how small garlic is and how big your onions are. So you just want to cook it enough that it gets aromatic, less than a minute, and now we're ready for the next ingredient. Next ingredient is some fire roasted tomatoes. And I'm using 2 of the big cans, which are about, I think, 28 or 29 ounces. And I'm going to tell you about these tomatoes as well, as soon as I get them in and stir them up. So here we go. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is looking so beautiful. I wish I had an overhead camera. There we go. So, fire roasted tomatoes. Okay, I found these at Kroger on Saturday, so you can still find these around. This is my favorite brand. It's Mere Glen Organic Fire Roasted Tomatoes. the reason I love these is because they are delicious. Okay, they're my favorite. I've done some taste testing on tomatoes in my time, and you know, we should all be eating cooked tomatoes as well as our beautiful ripe tomatoes, even though they're not so beautiful right now. But the Glen you can find in the grocery store. They're a little bit more expensive, but they taste great. And you know, as we start to eat better, we want the ingredients that go into our dishes to be yummy and perfect and good. And so the Glen is really good. I used a combination today of diced and crushed. You could use all diced or all crushed. I like my tomato sauce to have a little texture. However, after this tomato sauce is finished, if you like a really smooth one, you can always use an immersion blender once your tomato sauce is done and a little cooled off. Use your immersion blender, your boat motor, and make it a little smoother. So I think I've got everything in but my last ingredient, and that last ingredient is a little bit of red wine. Now you can actually use white wine, but because we just want a little acidity and flavor. So I am not going to use the beautiful wine that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. I am going to use an inexpensive Pinot Noir for this. Why is that? Because you want the acidity. You want something to have good acidity, and I wouldn't put in anything I wouldn't particularly drink, but I don't want to use my really good stuff to cook with. So here we go. I'm going to put in about a cup of red wine. And let me tell you about this red wine. This is a Pinot Noir from Italy. People do not think about Pinot Noirs from Italy, but this one is a great one to cook with. I'm going to stir my tomato sauce a little bit more. And the reason it's a great one to cook with is because it's inexpensive, but it still tastes good, y'all. And it's super inexpensive. Believe it or not, it's about $6.99. I got this one at Total Wine. Ooh, wow. This just got a lot of rain out there. I don't know whether you heard it. I got this one at Total Wine for $6.99. That's crazy, isn't it? But it is an old world wine, so it's got a lot of nice crisp acidity. And I actually did this one in a blind tasting with one of my recent Emory classes, and they thought it was pretty good too. So here we go. Here's what I've got in here now, and it's just going to cook down and burble a little bit for about 30 minutes, and then it's going to be done. So you don't have to have a tomato sauce that cooks all day. Sure, you might want one sometimes, but this is perfectly easy tomato sauce. I can go ahead and saute my mushrooms or roast them. I can get the rest of my meal ready. I can cook a little pasta, all while this is cooking away on the stove, and then it'll be done. Of course, I can leave it for 2 or 3 hours, and it's just going to keep concentrating and getting really good in flavor. So that's the story of my tomato sauce and my inexpensive wine that I used to make my sauce. But last but not least, I want to talk to you about 2 more things. One is pasta. I'm going to serve this tonight. I think I'm going to roast some mushrooms and serve it on maybe some bucatini, which is the bigger strands of pasta, regular wheat pasta. But I also want to just share with you, this is one of my favorite brands of alternative pasta. That's what I'm calling it now. This is chickpea pasta, and they also make a red lentil pasta. But the secret to using these pastas, these alternative pastas, is to not cook them too long. Okay? If it says on here, it says like 6 to 10 minutes, I check it after 5. So check it a minute before, at least a minute before, maybe 2 minutes before it says it's going to be done. Because if it cooks too much, it kind of loses its structure. I love these alternative pastas. We use them all the time in the Healthy Kitchen. So tonight, Mike and I are going to have this pasta on regular wheat, this sauce on regular wheat pasta. But later on in the week, we'll probably break out the alternative pasta to have some more of this sauce. You know, this sauce, this is one recipe. I got to stir because it's burbling. This is one recipe, but I almost always make at least a double recipe of this. because it freezes so good, and there's nothing more exciting than coming home in the afternoon and thinking to yourself, I have pasta sauce in the freezer. Yes! Okay, so make a double recipe when you make it. Just double everything. It's wonderful. Okay, so last but not least, certainly not least, I'm going to show you how to open this bottle of yummy wine from Sicily and tell you a little bit about it. So Nero d'Avola is the red grape of fame in Sicily. There are other beautiful red grapes, but this one is probably one of the ones that you're going to see the most often and will be the easiest to find. This one is from a company called Morgante, which is very close, only about 45 miles away from the temples at Agrigento, which I know you've seen pictures of. The big temples that are falling down, but they're actually so cool, you guys. Oh my gosh. And all the ruins in Sicily are just a picture of time and history. So exciting to go there. So beautiful. Not only food and wine, but also the story and history of Sicily. All right, turning this down again. All right, so you see that I left on as much of the capsule as I could on this wine. The reason I did is for two. One is because we're going to respect the winemaker's choice of the color and kind of capsule. That's that covering on the top of the cork. And two, it's correct wine etiquette. And we want to be correct. Okay, so I have a corkscrew that's going to go right in the top of my bottle. Oh, it's going to squeak, sorry. Actually, I like that sound. Okay, and now I'm going to use my corkscrew and yay. And by the way, this is the kind of corkscrew to have, a double hinged corkscrew. Okay, got my cork out, and I'm going to pour myself just a little taste of wine. Why not, right? Okay. So first of all, I'm looking at the color, and I'll put it up against this white board over here, and it's definitely ruby, rich ruby, dark in color, almost a little purple. Oh my gosh, red berries, but blackberries. It so smells like blackberries to me. Warm baking spices like cinnamon and cloves and black pepper. I'm going to swirl and smell one more time. It smells delicious. And now I'm going to taste it. Since it's my first sip of wine today, I know that's not going to surprise you. I'm not going to judge it on this first sip. I'm going to take another sip. Really nice acidity. I can taste those blackberries and black cherries and red berries and a lot of zippy acidity and some spice. So Nero d'Avola, great wine to have because it's got some nice acidity with it. Something like a tomato sauce with a little bit of meatiness in mushrooms, in a lasagna, something like that, with a little bit of umami flavor. Something, the tomatoes have a lot of umami too. You know, umami, the flavor of richness. So we're going to enjoy the rest of this bottle with dinner tonight. So Mike, if you're watching, this is dinner on a little pasta. We'll shave a little Parmesan. Yes, they do enjoy Parmesan in Sicily. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I've got the recipe posted on the Taste and Savor blog. So if you go to tasteandsavor.com, you'll see on the navigation bar on top something that says blog. And the first blog underneath that is Taste and Savor. And this recipe is up, along with some pictures. Oh my gosh, there's a beautiful picture of the coastline off of Syracuse, which is where we would be today if we were in Sicily. So thanks so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you again sometime this week. Please follow the Taste and Savor blog so that you can get updates on the week in Sicily. Yum. Bye.